So in 2022, the Darb Zubayda, that is to say the pilgrimage road between Kufa and Mecca, was submitted on the UNESCO's World Heritage Tentative List by the Saudi Ministry of Culture in collaboration with the Republic of Iraq. This submission aims at enhancing the pilgrimage road and to protect this shared heritage. To achieve this goal, the Heritage Commission in Saudi Arabia ordered drone photogrammetry to realize maps of selected sites. In the frame of a drone photography carried out in 2022 under the supervision of the Heritage Commission, we took the opportunity to implement deeper archaeological investigations through remote sensing, cartography, and on-site survey. The obligation to make the pilgrimage to Mecca at least once in one's lifetime is announced in Surah 22 of the Quran, the so-called Hajj Surah, and it's also one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Therefore, in a Muslim empire that in just a few decades stretched from the Atlantic to the Indus, the pilgrimage to Mecca quickly became a major political and economic issue. There are at least 5 main roads or road networks crossing the Arabian Peninsula and leading to Mecca. One of them, the Kufa-Mecca road, also referred to as the Darb Zubayda, is the most emblematic of the Abbasid Caliphate. The road stretches for about 1,400 kilometers, so between Kufa and Mecca, and 54 main stations, in Arabic manazil, provided the pilgrims with water, food, and in some cases, a shelter. So a very brief history, because I don't have much time, but we have probable evidence that the road was used since pre-Islamic times, as pre-Islamic material was found in Al-Rabada, one of the main stations. But of course, it became more important with the foundation of the city of Kufa in Iraq in 638, during the reign of the Caliph Omar I. According to some textual sources, Ali, the cousin and son-in-law of Muhammad, would have used this road in 656. And we have also a Kufic Arabic inscription found of the road dating from 661 and 717, attesting to the use of this road in a very early period. However, it's the Abbasid rulers who made the most important improvements to the road. In the year following the Abbasid revolution, the first Abbasid Caliph, Abul Abbas, began to organize improvement on this road. His successor, Al-Mansur, also the founder of Baghdad, led the pilgrimage 6 times, more than any previous caliph, and built several forts and cisterns on the Iraqi route. The third Abbasid Caliph, Al-Mahdi, made the Hajj a symbol of the wealth of the state and of the greatness and authority of the dynasty. He made the first and spectacular pilgrimage in 776, the year following his enthronement. Al-Mahdi ordered a complete restoration of the road, and the project lasted 10 years. But it was during Harun al-Rashid's reign that the Iraqi road reached its apogee. During this period, the flourishing Abbasid economy would have swelled the numbers of people possessing sufficient resources to make the pilgrimage. But the increase in pilgrim traffic has put additional pressure on limited water and food resources, both during the journey and in the holy cities. The need to reinforce road infrastructure was obvious, And it was also all the wealthy people of Iraq near the Abbasid court who invested for the community as a means to demonstrate their devotion to God. Also, at this time, documentation had become more precise, and it is possible to draw up a list of the roads leading donors and the infrastructures they finance, to which their name was attached. But it's mainly water infrastructure, such as wells or cisterns. Harun al-Rashid led his first pilgrimage in 786. He took with him great wealth, which he distributed among the inhabitants of Mecca. He sponsored the pilgrimage of many scholars and poor people. He also sponsored new wells, water cisterns, and rest houses on the road. However, his attention to the Hajj and his generosity were surpassed by his wife, Zubayda bint Ja'far, who gave her name to the road. She left such a mark on the Hajj that this one bears her name since that time, and some authors even falsely attributed all road equipment to her. However, in 906, the Karmatian, so a branch of Ismaili-Shiism, launched a first attack on the pilgrims as they returned from Mecca along the Darb Zubayda. So many people were massacred, and some wells were poisoned. In 930, the Karmatian sacked Baghdad and theft the black stone in Mecca. So after that, many infrastructures were destroyed and sites were abandoned, such as Al-Rabada. Even though the Abbasid eventually defeated the Karmatian in 979, the pilgrimage never resumed as it was before. We have very few mention of the Hajj through this road in historical literature after the 10th century, and finally after the collapse of the Abbasid Caliphate under the Mongol blows, the Darb Zubayda, even though it probably didn't disappear immediately, it was gradually covered by the sand. The road has been studied through archaeological exploration since the 1970s. However, apart from Al-Rabada, Faid, and Zubala, no extensive excavation have been carried out until recently, and we will hear on Saturdays the communication about Al-Aqiq. So, thanks to a study based on the existing literature, remote sensing analysis, and survey on the ground, can we offer a better understanding of the so-called residential forts, Khan caravanserai, or palaces? Is there a chronological evolution, or is it geographical? So I will just focus on two types of these buildings. First, some forts, and then the so-called palaces or formal buildings. So 18 forts were identified through both fieldwork and remote sensing. So these forts are generally square in shape with 4 towers in the corner, and they are, the walls are also risen by at least one semicircular column in between. They are generally measuring 20 meters sides and no more than 40. The best preserved examples of these features are in Iraq. Here, for instance, in al-Qurun. So this is a station, famous also for its tower, Manara, located about 65 kilometers south of Kufa. The vestiges of al-Qurun occupy an area of 21 hectares. The site comprises a fort, a large basin, wells, and other structures yet to be identified. The fort forms an impressive ensemble rising up to 6-7 meters above the surrounding flat steppe, and it is still surrounded on 3 sides by its high perimetral wall. It has a rectangular square plan measuring 30 meters side, with the entrance on its northern side, flanked by 2 semicircular towers, 4 round towers on each corner, and semicircular buttress pillars in the center of the east, south, and west walls defines its facade. To the eastern facade were added at a later date here 2 additional intermediate round pillars to strengthen the structures. So the walls are 70 centimeters thick, built in rubble stone masonry with roughly squared blocks. The fort presents the typical features and building techniques of Abbasid architecture, with vaulted rooms, now collapsed on this side, and Iwan organized around a central courtyard and pointed arches above the opening. So there are also 13 rooms from which you can enter from the central courtyard. Try to go a bit. And just to show you another example, here in Birkat al-Hammam, also in Iraq, a bit further south, just to show how the shape is standardized. And because on this site you can see the standing arches. Another interesting example can be found in Zabala Zubala, located in the depression of Wadi Zubala, very close to the Iraqi-Saudi border. The site, the wadi, runs towards the north. The site extends along the road between the modern road, between the cities of Rafah and Lina. It is a very important station with hundreds of structures. The site, so it covers a surface of 40 hectares, and it can be divided into 2 parts: the citadel or Kala on the top, and the depression in the wadi. Ibn Jubayr visited the site in the 12th century, and he mentioned the existence of a fortress, and the site, as you're going to see, was famous for its wells. There are like more than 300 wells on this site, but I will not talk about this today. And also in the chronics, there are the mention of a Karmatian occupation on this site. So here is the general photo map. So here you can see the Kala surrounded by a wall with the mosque here, and the fort. So the fort, as you can see here, so it is made of mud bricks and not stones. It is pretty much eroded. The wall stands up to 3 meters. And when you look around it, the citadel, you can find many 9th, 10th century materials such as turquoise glaze with appliqué decoration and steatite or soft stone vessel. The other important buildings along the road are the so-called formal buildings, and this is the main issue with the identification of these buildings. Donald Whitcomb synthesized the common shape of the so-called palaces, while Bernard O'Kane identified them as caravanserais. So 11 buildings were identified in previous studies, but if you count the sites on the Iraqi side and Saudi side, you have 17 buildings. So here WITCOM made a great job with the general organization. It is quite standardized. You have a general plan here. So the buildings generally comprise a central courtyard, entered from the axial gate, a pair of flanking yards, each entered from its own gate, a secondary axial courtyard and pair of flanking yards. Most of the buildings have at least 20 rooms. There is always a small mosque, quite always, not always, but almost every time, usually east of the main gate, supported by four columns or pillars. And interestingly, there are generally two antea growing from the north corners of the buildings. So just a few examples. The first buildings appears in the site of Talhat in Iraq. Talhat is located 138 kilometers southwest of Kufa. It covers an area of 97 hectares and lies along a low wadi running southwest-northeast across the site. So you have both here a fort and this formal building. To the north of the main central basin are the ruins of the fort. It presents a square plan, about 28 meters wide, surrounded by an outer wall about 35 meters wide, shielding the fort. The entrance gate, flanked by two semicircular towers, is on the northeast, and the fort has circular towers on the corners, with one intermediate circular pillar in between. Its 15 rooms are distributed around the central square courtyard. The row on the southwestern side, in front of the entrance, is larger than the three others. Here, the fort. The formal building or palace, to the north of the site, lie the vestige of the palace. It follows the typical plan of the formal buildings along the Darb. The building is very eroded, but its plan can be clearly identified on the drone survey images. So it has a square plan, almost square. It measures 60 by 65 meters, with rooms organized around a large central courtyard. To its northeastern side is a small mosque measuring 15 meter sides, with 4 pillars and 2 antae, probably added later or unfinished, that you can see here. South to the fort, lying between the main birke and the palace, is the main settlement. Most of the many buildings were probably dwellings, but rows of shops here can be identified, proving that this station was likely a permanently settled village in the Abbasid period. Another example is from Nikra al-Jafniya pool, located about 15 kilometers southeast of Nukra in Wadi al-Jifin, also a very big station covering an area of 60 hectares. The identification of this site is quite unclear from the textual sources, but because it should not be confused with Mahdin and Nukra, the close gold mine. So it was known to be the station where the road from Kufa and the road from Basra met. The site comprises 2 circular birke, a mosque, a fort, as well as other unidentified buildings. Of course, what interests us today is the remain of this important structure, measuring 60 by 70 meters. Its plan, as you can see, even if it's very eroded, we can recognize the organization in 2 courts, as well as the small mosque near the entrance. And another good example is from Qura, located in the governorate of Mahd al-Dhahab. Al-Qura lies some 150 kilometers southeast of Al-Rabada. And it is a small site because you just have these formal buildings and two birke or cisterns. So this building measures 53.8 by 54.5 meters. It is made of basalt stone because we are in an area with a hara. So the old lava fields. So it is again organized along a north-south axis. Two entrances here to the north and to the east. The interior is divided into three parallel parts with here 3 courtyards. On the northern side, an actual central corridor leads from the entrance to what the archaeologists identified as a new one. And the mosque measures 10 by 12 meters, and you have the rows of pillars. But we have also, interestingly, just to offer parallel with another kind of residential building with probably another function, closer to the elite residence or palace. Al-Uluya is a small station located 9 kilometers southwest of Al-Akik, located on the left bank of the Wadi al-Shamiya, which flows near its from northeast to southeast towards Makkah. So here the palace measures 50 by 40 meters and has 70 centimeter thick walls. It is not properly aligned with the birke because of topography. It has 2 entrances opening in the western wall. Each door is framed by 2 semicircular buttresses, and the northwest corner has quarter circular tower. So the building is organized around a large central courtyard, distributing the rooms on every side. The southern row of rooms is characterized by a bigger room, 10 by 15 meters, with 4 pillars in its corner, likely a reception hall. During the 1977 survey and soundings, archaeologists excavated some stucco decoration that can be parallel with the stucco of Samarra or Raqqa in Syria. So, what do the texts tell us? They are not very helpful in identifying these buildings, but the main source is Al-Harbi. He lists all the donors and buildings and so on. So he mentioned palaces, Qasr, in Qura, Mahdan, Bani Sulaim, Al-Rabada, Sakra, which indeed presents formal buildings. But he also described Qasr in Al-Misle, where we just have a fort. So it is difficult just from the text to properly identify this building. So perhaps we can try to find parallels elsewhere. So an interesting parallel, because it's in the Arabian Peninsula, is the fort of Fulej, excavated by Seth Priestman, which shows some interesting parallels with small forts on the Darb, so a square shape, a main gate flanked by 2 semicircular towers, and towers on the corners too, and I guess the room. This is not the last picture of the fort, but I was in rush. And regarding these formal buildings, were they can we make parallels with the so-called the Umayyad settlements, such as in Al-Kufa, or the so-called desert castle, with the fort, perhaps, for the size are much, much smaller, but it doesn't really properly work with these formal buildings. A better parallel is to find with the palace here, dating from the end of the 8th century in Raqqa in Syria, also erected during the reign of Harun al-Rashid. So, to conclude, these buildings were certainly a means to ensure the protection of the pilgrims and of the goods traveling on the road. It was also a means to materialize the power of the caliphate in areas far from the central power and prone to Bedouin attacks. The architecture of the formal buildings in particular is unique so far in the Abbasid period and bears witness to an architectural program developed specifically for this road. Thank you.